Charlie Apicella. So we've just been watching some of Charlie Apicella and his band Iron City. Amazing jazz player Charlie is. He's from New York City. Does some great stuff. He's been working with TrueFire. He's got a wonderful TrueFire channel. So how you doing, Charlie?
I'm doing great. It's very nice to be here with you guys.
It's wonderful having you here, man. I know we got some cool stuff lined up. You're going to do some playing for us today, a little bit of teaching. We'll talk about your channel. We'll do some cool stuff. We've even got a trivia question, right? So let's kick that off, right? The trivia question for everyone that's going to be tuning in, and don't put your answer in the chat. So there's a link you can click to put your answer there if you know this answer. So the question is this: how many CDs has Charlie released as leader of his band Iron City? So how many CDs has Charlie and Iron City put out there? So that is the trivia question. So once again, don't post your answer right here if you know it. Click on the link. I think someone's probably going to put a link up there, and click on that. And I think we're giving away. What are we giving away, Tommy?
And we're giving away a $100 gift card, guys.
Holy smokes, $100 gift card to TrueFire. So very, very cool. Also, another really cool thing that wanted to share right off the bat here, and I'll probably bring it up later because I'm excited about it, is if you go to the live page where you click to check this event out, there is a tip jar there for Charlie. So click under Charlie's name, his tip jar there, and you can, give him a little cash. Look, all artists all across the land are struggling in this time. They've had tours canceled, gigs of all sorts canceled. So we wanted to do that just as something cool to help out our TrueFire artists. So if you feel like, saying thanks to Charlie for working hard and doing this live event today, just go there, leave him a little cash in his tip jar. All of that money, 100% of that goes to Charlie. And I'm sure he will appreciate it. And we certainly appreciate all the folks tuning into these TrueFire Lives and supporting our amazing artists that we have. So a couple things that we want to talk about today with Charlie is just a little bit about, before we launch into his teaching, Charlie, you're such an amazing player. I mean, you have such not only a great technical grasp of things and just an understanding of how things work from that side, but you're very musical. You're just a musical cat. You get it in a different way than just connecting the dots cerebrally, right? You sort of get it musically. So a question for you is, where do you think that comes from for you? What's been like big influences for you that makes you just so aware of the musical side of things?
That's a very nice question. I appreciate that that comment. I think that for me, I've always viewed myself more as a jazz musician and not really as a guitarist. I really don't identify much in my personal life as a guitarist. So to me, my love of jazz is what really spurred me to investigate. And I happen to choose guitar as my instrument, but I have a deep understanding and connection and passion for jazz history and really American history too. I see how music is such an integral part of our lives here in America, and that means a lot to me. So I read a lot of history, and I think really the main focus for me that sort of is my unique stamp on things is that I listen to kind of a very narrow slice of what people might consider the genre of jazz music, sort of a narrow number of years that I really focus my interest on. And I think that helps me have a cohesive idea as to what I'm trying to present to my audience and to my students and what I'm trying to explore in my own heart.
That's a great answer. And I think that's a good tip for young musicians is to not, get so obsessed with just your instrument that you don't see the big picture of everything. Because that also helps you when you're in a situation, when you're playing with Iron City, you're thinking of the whole, right? You're thinking of the band, and you're thinking of how it all sounds, as opposed to just here's how my part sounds. You know, you don't want to get caught up in that. And I think that's a good tip for students as well, right? Make sure you're thinking about what's the music sound like, not just if my part is cool or not, right?
Exactly, absolutely. When I make these records, all the records I've made to date are Iron City records. They are, in my mind, what I'm looking to explore when I go into the studio is my original compositions, my arrangements of the music that I transcribe, and how can I write and arrange music for the band to sound great as a band. I'm very, you know, when you hear the records, when I play chords, it's very down in the mix. I'm really much more interested in how I can write for these great musicians that I play with, and I'm less interested in what is the contribution of the guitar here. How much guitar are we going to hear on these records? I hear myself all the time. I practice a lot. When I go into the studio, I want to hear these great people that I'm paying to have in the studio.
That makes sense. That's very, very un-guitar player-like of you. You don't want to listen to yourself, right?
Maybe.
All right. So awesome, man. So in a little bit, we're going to talk about your channel. Your TrueFire channel is just an amazing resource for any musician, but for sure jazz players. I mean, there's so many cool lessons in there. But before we do that, let's get to playing. Let's have you play a little bit for us. I'd love to have you play a little bit, then talk a little bit about what you're doing. You can break some stuff down, but let's jump into some playing, man. What tune are you going to play to start with?
Well, what I'd like to start with is a tune that really embodies one of the core pillars of my philosophy that I use in my teaching. So it's something that a very good friend of mine, Dave Stryker, turned me onto, and he calls it "Go to the Source." I've taken that sort of mantra and I apply it to the way that I learn music, in that I'll listen to arrangements. I'll listen to the way that Miles Davis and Sonny Stitt and Wes Montgomery, the arrangement that they use to play these jazz standards, and the unique twist that the character of the arrangement. So what I do in my teaching method and in my own learning is that I transcribe bits of the song that are unique to that song. When I first arrived in New York City 10 years ago, I learned very quickly, playing with older musicians, that you have to know the intros of tunes. You have to know what we call a shout chorus of a tune. The parts of the arrangement that you might hear on a Frank Sinatra record or a Duke Ellington arrangement of a jazz standard. So I really made that the core of what I was trying to learn when I listened to these recordings. I'm going to demonstrate this idea on a tune called Satin Doll. This is a Duke Ellington classic. It's been recorded by, everyone. And there's certain elements of the tune. When I play this, for example, if I'm on the bandstand, that's an intro that everybody on the bandstand knows exactly what tune I'm going to play. When I play live, obviously concerts with Iron City is a little different. We have a set list and we talk about it in the dressing room beforehand. But when I'm playing some kind of more intimate venues, I don't announce the tune. I don't even tell the band what I'm going to play. And if the bass player doesn't know the tune, then I'll just play it solo, because I play in such a chordal style when I play with my bass player and drummer. So you focus on the tune, you conceptualize how you want it to sound in your head. I'll play a little bit and then I'll demonstrate one more element of this that I have discovered also on the bandstand. So if I'm going to play Satin Doll, okay, so that would be the A section of the tune. So it's swinging, it's driving. For example, imagine if I was playing with a bass player and he didn't know that tune. Well, I'm kind of already in the zone, right? If nobody else comes in and plays with me, I could just play a shorter version of the tune completely solo on guitar. Do you understand what I mean? So, and this is a tip I picked up from one of my favorite guitarists, someone who's become a nice friend as well. His name is Peter Bernstein, and he told me early on. He said, "You don't even tell people what you're going to play." And what I've learned from that is, if you say we're going to play Satin Doll, everybody has a predetermined idea in their head of what Satin Doll sounds like, what key is it going to be in, what tempo, what feel, and what the arrangement is going to be. As the guitarist, as the leader, I need to be able to lead without describing these things to people. So therefore, if I can have such a cohesive concept on the guitar, then the band will naturally fall in behind me because they're good, seasoned musicians, not because I'm not really looking for their concept of what Satin Doll is. I'm looking for them to accompany my concept of Satin Doll. So this whole, organism of music is something that I have titled in my teaching. I call it the New York Songbook. So, in which I know that you and I have even had conversations about this in the past as well. When I was constructing my channel a couple years ago, this is a concept that you and I discussed. To me, what this means is that I've learned on the bandstand, and like I said, I really learned from falling in love with jazz music. So I took all these elements and I pepper my teaching with these sort of insights of information that really have nothing to do necessarily with guitar, but really have more to do with executing the music in real time.
Nice. Well, that's awesome, man. That kind of information is really, once again, good for other players, younger players or newer players to hear, to sort of, it's amazing to hear your thought process on it, to go, that's what he's thinking about. Because sometimes, when I watch a player like you, I'm like, holy smokes, that's, it's amazing playing. And it's easy to get caught up in just thinking that's just, you must just do that. But you're really putting thought into it. You're doing it intentionally, the way you play and the way you approach things, which is, I think is really, is an awesome testament to just, once again, you being an overall musician, which is really cool. So I love that song. If anybody's just tuning in, by the way, trivia question. So don't put it here, but click on the link. Let's put them up a link so they can do this trivia question, win a $100 gift certificate, right? The trivia question is, how many CDs has Charlie released with his band Iron City? So how many CDs are out there? So get on the trivia. And also, if you're out there watching, shout out, let us know where you're from, where you're tuning in from. Always amazing to see how far of a reach we have with the awesome language of music. So drop a geography there in the chat and let us know. So Charlie, let's dig into another concept or tune that you want to do. You take it. You do what you'd like to do.
I am primarily influenced by blues music. So the very first music I was ever drawn to, me and my dad would listen to Muddy Waters, B.B. King, T-Bone Walker. I have a pretty specific idea of what I really think blues is. And again, thinking about it, I rarely listen to folks who are like guitar blues players. Mm-hmm. Of course, I love Jimi Hendrix. He's really my top overall influence. But as a musician, I've never tried to play any Jimi Hendrix tunes. I even consider that I play a different instrument from him. Jazz is an acoustic music. I play an acoustic guitar, which happens to have a pickup for amplification, but my approach really is very centered in that sort of 1950s jazz guitar sort of world. So for me, blues really is best expressed with an ensemble sound and not, again, with a guitar sound. One of the people I love most is Freddie Green. He was the wonderful, innovative guitarist with Count Basie. And Freddie Green is known for really only playing chords behind Count Basie. This is a topic that I go into in so many of my videos on my channel. I find myself coming back to this person's name, Freddie Green. My concept for my channel is called Solid Guitar, and what I mean by that is I try to build everything on a very solid foundation of fundamentals. Tempo, I try to have good time, and I try to always establish a feel that draws me into the music. So a great way to illustrate these points is a tune that I wrote called G Walking Blues. This is just a simple blues chord progression, and that I can use the blues in order to teach how we play a jazz walking bass line. So the way I demonstrate it is this. If we play our standard G7 chord, what I'm going to do is I'm going to omit some of the notes. Okay, the typical Freddie Green style has to do with voicing some of the strings and muting some of the strings with your hand. And I go into this in very great detail all over the channel. There's many examples where I talk about Freddie Green style. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to articulate only notes on string 6, string 4, string 3, but you're going to sweep through in a full motion where you hit all 6 strings. It's hard to do it slow, but let me try to demonstrate if I do it slow. Okay, so here I'm playing all 6 strings and I'm muting some of them, and I'm just articulating those 3 strings. You get this nice spongy driving bass feel. Say for example I'm going to play 4 beats, 1, 2, 3, 4. In my blues the next chord is a C7. Now here's the 4 chord C, back to 1, 6, 2, 5, 1, 6, 2, 5. Now with approach notes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one beat from each bar and I'm going to add it to the next bar. So if I have 4 beats of G and my next chord is C, C is going to borrow beat 4 from the bar of G. So now I have beats 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to play a C sharp chord and lead into the C. 1, 2, 3. Beat 4 goes back to the G chord. So you get sort of this lopsided view of looking at the measures, and what we get is this. You get the beginnings of a walking bass line. So that is a nutshell example of, thank you, that's a nutshell example of my whole chapter on my channel called G Walking Blues, where I walk you through step by step and demonstrate how you can one note at a time you can go and start to create a walking bass line. But I think what's different about the way that I teach this and I approach this is I always approach everything kind of based on counting, rhythm, feel. Like I said, solid foundation. How do we think of our lines, not necessarily melodically, but rhythmically, and fit them together, kind of like Lego blocks, like puzzle pieces.
Very cool. So, Charlie, how many more tunes did you have prepared to play?
I can demonstrate a couple things. Would you like a performance, or would you like me to demonstrate in sort of a lesson style?
Well, what would be great to do is to take a look. I mean, I definitely want to get the folks a chance to see your actual channel. We can show them some visuals and talk, a little bit about what you have going on. But I'd definitely like to get one more performance, like just a straight up, give us just another tune. Play one more tune, and then we'll go to channels from there. Speaking
of the blues, I'm going to play now a tune that I put on my upcoming record. The record's going to come out in January. It's all done, but because of our circumstances right now that we're going through, I'm going to hold it off. This record is called Classic Guitar. It's my tribute to the 1950s guitar players, and it's going to be a vinyl-only release. On there, I play a blues in G, just like I just did, and this is my tribute to the wonderful pianist Otis Spann, who folks might know from his work with Muddy Waters. In my opinion, the greatest pianist of all. So this is a tune called Funky Mama.
Yeah. Nice job, man.
Very nice.
Awesome stuff, right?
Yeah.
And love it that it's it's jazz, but that's blues, man. That is just, that's beautiful. Great job, man.
Thank you.
So, Charlie, I want to tell you who's looking. There's folks tuning in from all over. I'm just going to go through a list of people from New Jersey, believe it or not, all the way from New Jersey watching. North Carolina, Germany, Poland, Maine, Portugal, Las Vegas, Prague, Rome, Santa Cruz, California, Calgary, Red Lodge, Montana, my favorite place on the planet, the Netherlands, Seattle, Jacksonville, Menlo Park, Austria. I mean, it just goes on and on. Queensland, Texas, Denmark, South Dakota, London. I mean, those are all the folks that are watching. I tell you, everybody that's watching, make sure you go down under this video and click that thumbs up button, right? Doing that thumbs up button is really good. It really shows that, shows our artists that you appreciate that. And don't forget, I think Ali posted in the chat there, go to the page where you can drop a tip for Charlie if you appreciate what he's doing. That would be awesome as well. So, Charlie, your TrueFire channel, let's talk about that.
Yes.
Amazing work that you've done in this, and for everybody that wants to check that out, we'll put the link in there to go check that out as well. You have many sections in there, some very cool sections like the vinyl vault, the solid fundamentals. Of course, there it is. We're pulling it up, solid guitar. Tell Tell us a little bit about how, you're thinking of how you put some of these sections together.
Well, for me, I heard a little birdie once told me that it might be a good idea to have a sort of topic, like a blog that isn't specifically about teaching. So I want to thank that person for that tip. I think you know who he is, Jeff. And that really spurred me on to come up with this idea with the vinyl vault. So I collect jazz on vinyl. So when I'm at home, that's really all I listen to. And just in case my wife is listening, I'm at 500, and I'm not going to buy any more. If I want to buy any more records, I have to sell some at this point. So because you end up gobbling up a lot of them. So what I do is I just started a little blog, which I am able to use to reach out to folks who aren't necessarily guitarists, but are music fans. So I have all these friends now, like on Facebook, for example, who are vintage vinyl record collectors and so forth. So this is something that's just like a little passion project for me. Oftentimes it leads into my lessons. For example, there's right here we see the Johnny Smith record that I just recently posted. The record which features Freddie Green, I'm able to use to illustrate points that we talk about in my channel, Solid Guitar.
Awesome.
So that's a fun little thing there. As we talked about, the New York Songbook is where I sort of share all my bruises that I received playing on stage with some of these legendary older musicians that I'm able to interact with in New York City, and some of the tips and tricks I use to stay alive in that environment. My concept of solid fundamentals came from my belief very early on that I should be able to play a gig if no one else shows up. And I started to realize when I practice, I'm basically playing solo unaccompanied guitar all day. And right. I realized with a little bit of polishing, I'm able to take what I do for myself when I'm enjoying playing guitar for myself, with a little bit of polishing and framing the compositions in a certain way, and I would be able to just then play any gig I wanted solo. So the idea of solid fundamentals really came from the idea of having a cohesive idea of what I was trying to express to the audience through the tunes that I was choosing to play. And that's really the underlying philosophy of my channel on TrueFire.
Nice. You know, one of the things I noticed in there, Charlie, is you've got hand-drawn charts, hand-drawn diagrams. I love that. I mean, that's just such a cool, it gives the students a feel for really, working with you and all of the time and effort that you put into building this channel. It's really an amazing piece of work, man. So great job with that.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, that comes from necessity is the mother of invention. So I'm going to tell you a little secret. If anybody out there, you guys might, because, the guys at TrueFire, you guys work with a lot of technology, but I have a Gateway 2000 laptop that I got the year 1998. And somehow it still turns on, and I'm running Finale 2000, a copy a friend of mine gave me when I was in high school. So all the charts I make are actually on this dinosaur of a computer, and I haven't updated my software in 20 years, so I can't make tab. I can't really make charts that even look good. But I spent so much time cracking the code on how to operate this software that I'm clinging to it for dear life. So sometimes it's easier to just write it by hand and scan it and put it on my channel than having to turn that computer on.
Yeah, I mean, that's a skill that, is one of those things that it's lost on so many folks. We go to all the technology, and we become dependent on all the technology and the tab, and it's like learning how to really read and write music and be able to draw those charts.
Yes.
That's really an important part of the educational process.
Oh, absolutely. Being able to write is.
Yeah.
I'm self-taught. I mean, I took some music classes when I was in college, but I didn't study music in college.
Right.
I've only studied through a mentor apprentice relationship with only 2 or 3 musicians in this entire time I've been studying. My very first music teacher was Yusef Lateef, the legendary saxophonist.
Wow.
And you talk about my handwriting on the charts. I remember distinctly, I remember being in his studio, talking with him, and he said that you want the bar to always be split in half. You know, he didn't like when, you know, he liked, you know, and it's kind of how, I'm very specific. I want everything to be 4 bars per line.
An even number of bars, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, so it can be visually digestible. To me, I can see things in my head like a grid. Cool. And if you want to shoot over, Tommy, to G Walking Blues, I'd like to show folks that chart, and I can give a better description of how I broke that lesson down.
Yeah, let's take a quick look. We just have a couple more minutes, Charlie. Unfortunately, we're running low on time, but why don't you show us that? And then we'll do our trivia answer for all the folks out there.
Okay.
And
great. So let me quickly give my plugs here. I'm playing my wonderful ZT acoustic amp, and I always use their amps in the studio. So right now I'm playing the ZT Jazz Club on my gigs, which is a wonderful amp. You can buy everything of theirs online. I play vintage Guild guitars. This is the 1963 Artist Award, which in my opinion is the greatest jazz guitar ever made. But back to the lesson here, you'll notice that here we have a G7 chord, and then on the top it says C sharp. That C sharp is, the way I describe it is this. The closer you get to beat 1 of the next bar, in this example, the C9 chord, it's almost like a gravitational pull. So beat 1 has a lot of gravity to it. Beat 4 is like a distant moon outside the gravity of the G7 chord. Because beat 4 is so close to beat 1 of the next chord, C7, that C7 chord kind of steals beat 4 from the G chord, right? So the voice leading naturally moves down from C sharp to C9 in this fashion. Beats 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. It's almost like that beat 4 becomes a little satellite of the next strong beat, beat 1. So that's the visual, that's the chart that goes behind the lesson I was just describing a moment ago.
Very, very cool.
Awesome.
So yeah, Jeff.
So let's look at. I think we have a trivia winner. We're giving away $100 gift card for TrueFire. So let's see if we've got that. And everybody, for sure, go over and check out Charlie's channel. There's some cool stuff on there. There's some free lessons on there you can look into and check out. And man, it's the best. It's the best money you can spend to help out your guitar education right there. The cost of a latte, basically. You can sign up and study with an amazing artist like Charlie. Mm-hmm. So let's see, are we ready? Have we drawn our winner for our trivia?
I don't know.
$100 the winner goes to... Waiting.
We're waiting in suspense. I don't know.
Suspense,
We may just do all of the winners later. Here it comes. Here it comes.
It's coming.
Winner is...
Yule Joe.
There you go.
2311. I like it.
Congrats.
Well, Yule Joe. Good for you. You just won $100. We've got like more people tuning in, Charlie, even now as we speak, from Montreal, Uganda, Uruguay, Australia, Madrid, Chile, Bangladesh, even as far away as Minneapolis. So It's crazy. So we are, it's amazing. Thank you to everyone that's been checking this out. This show goes on for a while. We've got 2 more artists coming up later. Jennifer Batten's coming up, and then we're going to have Josh Smith after that. So it's going to be a full day of TrueFire Live here. But I tell you, Charlie, this has been really awesome having you on. It's great having you part of the TrueFire family. And, we thank you for being involved with us. For sure, want to, once again, shout out to everybody who's watching. Go check out Charlie's channel. Jump in it. You'll learn a lot, guaranteed. If you want to drop by the tip jar on the way out, do that as well. But thank you so much, Charlie, for being here, and we look forward to doing this again with you.
We'll see you soon. Thanks so much, Jeff.
All right, thank you. Well, so coming up, guys, our TrueFire Live continues. It will be continuing with we do have Tommy there on. Tommy is our.
Thank you.
People from all corners of the globe today. Yeah. Tommy's at his house. Seth is somewhere else. I'm somewhere else, and then we've got 3 artists all stationed around the country. So not easy.
Let's see if we can get Jennifer to unmute her audio on Skype, and then we'll bring her in. Let's see, Jennifer.
Jennifer, are you there?
She's okay. The little button next to the little microphone button.
I got it. Yeah, the button was moving around on me. A moving target. Hey, how are you guys? Hi, Jeff. Hi, Tommy.
Great. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. It's heating up. It feels like summer today out in Portland, Oregon is where I'm at.
Very nice.
That's awesome. Well, so good. All of our folks watching, we've been working, TrueFire's worked with Jennifer for quite a while. Of course, Jennifer, legendary player. And I think, I'm not sure, are we going to play something from her, Tommy, or are we just rolling?
Oh, we're going to play some. Yeah, Jennifer's prepared some tracks. Something. She's going to do her thing. Should we kick it off with, I'll tell you what, we have a special treat. We have some live performance video of Jennifer on the road. And,
nice.
I'll leave that up to you, Jennifer. Do you want to roll with that now, or do you want to save that for later?
Go ahead.
You want to hit one? Okay. Which one? I have the Finland and the Schorndorf.
The Finland had amazing camera stuff. I love to shoot people don't know I do a multimedia show in sync with films, and they had so many cameras. They didn't always have the film in it, but they had one of those ginormous cameras that, that looks like a fireman would use it. So I think that's better footage.
Big crane jib style.
Yeah, the crane, yeah.
Nice. So yeah, let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at that footage. Here we go.
Let's roll it.
And here we go. Sick, man. Nice. So, Jennifer, why don't we start out and talk a little bit about how you incorporate all these visual elements into your shows?
Okay, you're really breaking up, but I got the gist of it.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super.
Yeah. So Jennifer, just what I want to comment on of watching that is something that you do that you've really been involved with is when you tour, you do really present not only an audio experience, but a visual experience as well. Yeah. You know, you do some amazing stuff with that. You know, a visual performer as well as just listening. And of course, you're an amazing player. But how did you get, you know, how do you go about that? How did you get into that more visual side of things?
You know, it was just like the last fabulous guitar player was talking about mother of invention, or the necessity is what did it. You know, I had toured for 10 years with Michael Jackson and 3 years with Jeff Beck, and after that was done, I go, well, my bucket list is done and I'm not dead. So I got to do something else. And I thought, okay, now it's time to do my music. And then the thought of putting a band together and having that responsibility of paychecks and, you know, the whiners on the road and that whole nightmare, I thought there's got to be a way I can at least start out by playing alone. And I had done plenty of clinics around the world, probably 1,000, where I'm playing to tracks. And I thought, well, it's cool for a clinic, but it's not enough entertainment value for a show. So I thought about, it just came to me to play in sync with films, and I was not a filmmaker. So I put the word out for a good year and a half. I put MP3s out of what at that time was a new CD coming out called Whatever. And I contacted film schools and put ads out. And after all that time, I only had 4 films. And I thought, well, that's a pretty short show. So one of the guys that turned in a film showed me how to do it. And I became completely obsessed. And I tell you what, I could sit there on the couch 17 hours a day, and the only reason to get off the couch is to pee. It's one of those obsessive art forms that I just got into by necessity. And it's really been great, because even if I'm touring with a band, I've had situations where maybe the club doesn't have enough money for a band for one day and there's a day off. And it's always expensive to keep a band on the road. So rather than just sitting in a hotel for the day off, I'll fly to Spain. You know, I mean, I'm already in Europe is what I'm thinking. And I carry in my carry-on, I have the Blue Guitar Amp 1, it's a 100-watt tube head. I got 2 projectors in case one will fail, and 2 laptops for the same reason. And bam, as long as I can get a screen provided, I can do a show. And I've done that many, many times. And
that's cool.
Yeah, very cool. It's just super fun. And, you know, you don't have to rely on humans.
Right.
Which is
kind of
sometimes
like this isolation thing.
Yeah, right. You're set for this right now. This is your element then. Perfect.
Yeah. Well, in isolation, I'm really getting into the green screen thing, so I can eventually do a concert from home. I'm just swimming up to my eyeballs in tutorials and software right now, so I'm not quite there yet.
Well, that is awesome. So we've got folks tuning in from all over the world, as we mentioned, and I tell you what, we're going to do a trivia question for you as well, and whoever wins this trivia question will win a $100 gift card at TrueFire. So everybody, here's the trivia question that we're going to shoot for the time Jennifer is here with us. Don't type your trivia in the chat. Don't type your answer in the chat. Make sure you click on the link and go there, so don't give it away. The question is this. Jennifer played on 2 of Jeff Beck's records. Who else, and what was the other one? So you have to name that, but click on the link and put your answer there. And at the end of this segment, we will draw a winner, and you'll win $100 to TrueFire, which is pretty awesome. So
yeah.
You know, Jennifer, obviously, many people know you or learned about you from all your time playing with Michael Jackson. Obviously, amazing performer and a wonderful time that you had there. Of course, then you played with Jeff Beck. But some of us diehard guitar nerds when we decided we wanted to learn how to tap on guitar, we had I think it was called Two Hand Rock book that you did way back when. That was like with REH or something, right?
Yeah, that was.
I think I had that. I remember playing that cassette and learning licks off of there. So
Wow.
Thank you for putting that together.
I didn't know
that was a while ago. But then I mean that was cool to me. Then you did the Michael Jackson. Sure, that's a fun gig. But I was into the 2-hand rock, you know.
Great.
So what when you're working with tunes and all of the stuff that you do now, we're going to play a couple things. Have you play some stuff? How does like working with someone like a legendary artist like Jeff Beck, right? Mm-hmm. Who's well known as an artist and a guitar player. How were what did you learn from that gig that has basically helped you sort of influence the way you think about your own playing? That you maybe wouldn't have otherwise.
Interesting question. People have asked me a lot what I got out of the Jackson tour, what I got out of the Jeff tour, and I'm going to insert the Jackson thing. What I got out of that was the power of entertainment way beyond the music. I mean, for him, music was just the foundation, and he built all these visuals and dance and all this stuff on top of it. And I think that's why I got into doing the film, because I realized that if I'm doing a solo show and you're watching my fingers, 5 minutes later, it's still the same fingers, and in the ADD generation, you need more things hitting you all the time. With Jeff, I think one of the things I got from him was his ridiculous creativity and open mind. He will listen to the Spice Girls and Ornette Coleman in the same day, and I've sat with him on the couch watching the UK Idol or stuff like that, and he'll be swearing at the TV the whole time, but there are things that he will glean from it that you wouldn't expect. Some sound, something the way something was produced, something the way somebody sang something, and I think it's because of his sensitivity as an artist that he can just pick up things you wouldn't even imagine. In fact, he would hate me to tell this, but I have to. We got into using whoopee cushions on the tour. And we were just crazy to the point the rest of the band members had to go to the back of the bus because they couldn't stand us anymore. But one time he took a whoopee cushion, blew it up, and he took the tip of it, so it's like a balloon, and he played "'Cause We Ended as Lovers" on it. So he went. I mean, who does that, right?
That's great.
So everything is an instrument to him.
That is awesome. That's amazing. What a great lesson to learn from somebody. Be creative at all times. That's very, very cool. So once again, we're at TrueFire. We're just huge fans of yours. You've done the Rock Sauce series, Rock Sauce Rhythm Edition, course, Rock Sauce Lead Edition. You did the intervallic licks, which are amazing. I mean, for anybody that wants to really dig into that. Very sophisticated sounding rock stuff. Those intervallic licks to me still, blow my mind. They're just very cool. So we dig all that stuff. So anybody watching, checking this out, for sure, go check out Jennifer's courses. Really, really good stuff. So having said that, let's segue into playing something.
Yeah.
So let's have you play something for us here.
Funny you would talk about the intervallics because that's how this song starts. It's called
Nice.
Elephant Stomp.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. Nice.
I forgot I was only supposed to go halfway and then start talking.
That's amazing. That's
so
awesome.
Thank
very
you.
cool. So let's do let's shout out to folks one more time about our trivia question. The trivia question for Jennifer is: Jennifer played on 2 of Jeff Beck's records. One was Who Else, and what was the other one called? Go to the link that we're providing for you and put your answer in there. Also, if you're digging this, if you're digging Jennifer Planer, click on the link, go to the live page, and click on the tip jar. We've got this set up to where you can drop Jennifer a tip for all her work here. Just something we like to do to support our artists. 100% of that money goes to the artist. So, just tell her thanks for doing this. She will appreciate it. We certainly appreciate her being here and taking the time to, just play for us and do this show. It's an amazing thing. We've got people tuning in from literally all over the world watching, which is kind of amazing. So,
Nice.
Stop by, check that out. And while we're talking about that, the ultra intervallic licks, let's look at your courses. So yeah, here we go. Let's pull those up, Seth. Jennifer's courses, the rock sauce for rhythm guitar. Man, if you want to play some cool rhythm and really learn about how to get that grooving rhythm like Jennifer does, this is a great course for that. It's like not a crazy complex. It's very, to me, is the essentials that you need to learn to be able to pull off that groove type playing. She does a lot of interesting things in there because obviously her playing is not just boring by any stretch. So the really cool, interesting things, she shares all that in there. She also does the lead edition of that. So Rock Sauce for lead takes the same approach and shows you several of her tunes, and then how she does it. Because, if you're mesmerized by watching her play that last tune, like I was, you definitely want to stop somewhere in there and say, wait, show me how to do that. So this is a cool way to be able to do that, to be able to sort of dig in and see what she's thinking when she does that. And for sure, the intervallic course gives you all of those intervallic licks and all that cool stuff that, once again, to me is amazing. So So Jennifer, I've got a question for you about that.
Yeah.
When you're playing like the initial riff from that last song you played, what's your thinking on that when you're like writing a melody like that that's a lot more intervallic than just linear right up and down a scale? How do you go about approaching that?
I wouldn't call that intro a melody by any stretch. I couldn't sing it. But I'm actually thinking, I think basically all of the fifth intervals that are in a D minor pentatonic. Yeah, just awesome. And then doing it in triplets because that's what the rhythm calls for.
Awesome. So how do you practice those kind of patterns? Do you have any tips for practicing that kind of playing?
You know what? Just trying to do anything but thirds will get you into the intervallic zone. Like if I'm taking the D minor pentatonic, and you can kind of think of it as a left side and a right side, and just going instead of doing a scalar kind of thing, going up a fourth, and this next one will not be a fourth, but most of them end up being fourths. Third, fourth. Yeah, and I'm really into skipping strings as well. So I've had a lot of students say, I've spent so much time with the pentatonic scale, and I think I'm ready to move on. And I go, well, let's not just throw the pentatonic scale to the side because there's so much you can do with it. I mean, just jumping strings for one. Going up 2 fourths. And then doing patterns like instead of jump strings like that. It's just so much fun permutating the stuff that you already know, turning it inside. I keep looking at the camera. I mean, not the camera. I should have put the laptop next to that. It's a tennis game. What am I doing? And I got into it when I went to GIT, which was turned into Musicians Institute. At the time, it was only guitar. And one of the 3 teachers, there was 60 students total back then, was Joe Diorio. And he was just a monster player. He was a bebop player, but he really got into the intervallic thing through Eddie Harris and John Coltrane, that picked up Nicholas Slonimsky's intervallics book called A Thesaurus of Scales and Melodic Patterns, which just looks like fly poop. I mean, the notes are ridiculous, and it's written on piano, so it goes way below where a guitar can play and way above. But for instance, he'll take something like, and when you analyze the notes, you go, well, geez, that can work for a major or a minor because the third isn't there. And once you know how chords are made after you buy my course, then it's a free-for-all. Just having fun with it, just throwing your fingers on the neck and see what will work with what. And in fact, this will work with all 3 types of chords. It can work for a D7, a D major 7, and D minor. So, yeah, it is. When I first heard it, it's like stood out so much as being really fresh. Just like the tapping thing was when I first listened to a guy that was in my class at guitar school, Steve Lynch. He's the one that first started working on the tapping. I'm going, wow, this is a revolution. I gotta have some of that.
That's awesome. That's very cool. I think I still have the cassette of Joe's intervallic designs sit around here somewhere that I've, listened to that, and it's just so amazing. Very, very cool playing. So that's awesome. Those were great examples for people to experiment with. And like you said, you can do other things with the pentatonic scale. Don't just think it's the same 3 blues licks that you have to play over and over. You can do a lot of interesting things with it. And that's a great example you just showed of some things to do with it. Very cool. So let's do another tune. Let's play another song. I think everybody wants to see you play. So let's do another song, and we can talk a little bit about that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this one of my favorite toy of all time is the whammy pedal. And when I first got it, I just went bananas with it. And usually when I use it to take the guitar down a whole step. So I can kind of use it as a slide guitar. But in this one, I was just goofing with the octave up mode of it and found that it could sound like an angry cat. So here's Cat Fight. This is some goofy stuff.
Man. Nice.
That's silly.
So, already we're getting a lot of cool questions from the audience. One of the big things that I'm sure you can expect, people want to know about your gear. Why don't we talk a little bit about the guitar and that device you've got there by the nut and what you're using on the pedals?
Yeah, sure. This guitar is a Washburn Parallax from their Parallax series. It came out a few years ago. And it's the first 24-fret guitar I've ever had. So in the beginning, I was like, what key am I in? It was really difficult to get used to, but I kind of dig it now.
Nice.
So I used to struggle to get to certain things, and now it's super easy. And this thing is called a string damper, and I first started using it for tapping. Well, back in the day, I used a sock tied around the first fret, but
right.
You can't take a sock out of the way in a hurry when you want an open string or a harmonic. So this has an arm I can flip out of the way. I sell them on my website. So here's the before and after. Here's tapping without the damper. And it's super noisy, right? Yeah, it just cleans it right up.
Wow.
So I used it in the beginning just for tapping, and now I use it almost all the time. It just keeps things super clean, and it's a piece of cake. Even if I'm playing with, the left hand, I can flip it out of the way in a hurry with the right hand and get open strings.
What brand is that dampener that you use? I know I've seen some of them that look almost like a hair tie that are just like an elastic band that wraps around. What brand is that one?
That's brand Batten.
Brand Batten, nice.
Yeah,
like homemade.
It's never been. I had them made in China. The first
awesome.
time I went to China, I befriended a Chinaman, and I thought, this is the way to go, because I looked into getting them manufactured in America, and they wanted like $100 a piece to do 1,000 of them, and that's my cost. And when you can buy a guitar for $200, nobody's gonna, that's just crazy. So I had them manufactured there and sell them on my website, and it has a thumb screw, so you can move it higher up the frets if you want. You can adjust it easily afterwards. And there's a Gibson model and a Fender model.
Nice.
Yeah. So I use them all the time.
And
this.
Yeah, go ahead. What is the actual model of that guitar that you're playing? You said Parallax.
Yeah, PMX10.
Okay, let's see if we can pull that up on the screen.
And it's a bit modified, because I've been using a Gibson scale, shorter scale, for many years, and so what you get in the store is not. It's more like a Fender scale.
Right.
So I had them shorten the scale, and I changed the pickups out to Fishman Fluence in the bridge,
nice,
and from their Stratocaster set in the other two spots. And it's just a standard 5-way switch, Floyd Rose, of course. So ever since Eddie Van Halen talked about the Floyd Rose in the magazines in the 80s, I go, that's it. So I love the sound of the tremolo bar, but I don't love the sound of having to tune after every tune.
Right.
And these things here, these are stickers.
Yeah.
So I can change the look of the guitar every time I change my strings if I want. These are from a company called Neck Illusions, and you can get custom designs. I've got half a dozen designs. Steve Vai has designs that he drew that you can get. And so each one of these, you peel it off the paper and put it on. And the material is incredible, because you can pull it off several times and put it back on. It doesn't leave any residue. And so you can have, instead of having a $2,000 inlay, you can have it made out of paper and then change your mind next week. So that's kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Cool.
It looked like you do have the string dampener for sale from your site, right? Is that what I see on there? Very
yes,
cool.
I do. Yeah. One more thing about the guitar that's pretty groovy is the way that the neck joins the body is really different. It's called the Stevens cutaway.
Yeah, let's look at that.
Oh, you're getting a close-up.
Yeah, show that close.
Yeah.
Show it as close as you can to the camera without it getting too weird, out of focus.
Without getting tangled in wires.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Very different.
So you can get up to the 24th fret without having to struggle. That's why that's really great.
Nice.
And, Nuno Betancourt uses that. And I saw his guitar for years, and I saw this part from the front, and I never thought anything about it. I thought it was just an interesting design, but I didn't realize how it was a different kind of neck joint. So I love it. I can go past the 24th fret. If I had another fret, I could get there too.
Very cool.
And this is a bracket for the Fishman Triple Play wireless MIDI system, which obviously I don't have engaged right now, but if I want to trigger any synthesizer sound on my laptop, I just slap in that pickup, and there's a little controller that'll be over here. And this thing, I found that sometimes I'd be playing along, and my arm would accidentally grab the wire that went from the pickup to the controller, and I would pull it out, and it would hit the strings, and then game over. You just can't play. So I got this little 2-cent thing that'll hold the wire in place.
Nice.
And for 4 years now, I've been using the Blue Guitar Amp 1, and Thomas Blug, that invented it, I had met him in different, like the Frankfurt show, the NAMM show, different music conventions, and I knew him as a player and a friendly guy, and I thought he sounded fantastic. His Strat player, just wonderful sound. And I was hanging with a friend in the north of France, 4 years ago, and he said, "Hey, we got a day off. Let's go visit Thomas because he's right across the border in Germany." And we ended up going to his house, and as soon as I came in, he plugged me in. He said, "Here's my Strat. Here's my new prototype of my amp." And I didn't realize he had been designing amps for Hughes and Kettner for 27 years. And I plugged in and said, "I want it. When can I buy it?" And it was absolute torture. I had to wait at least 6 months because what he had was a prototype, and it had to go through all this testing and manufacturing. And I think I'm his first customer. The thing is 3 pounds. It's 100 watts. It's got 4 channels, vintage, classic, modern, which I use the modern for more saturated Van Halen kind of sounds, and then a clean sound, and then basic amp controls on the front, and then on the side you can dial in
Awesome.
to your personality as you choose. And so it's in my carry-on all the time. I mean, before that, I was using sounds from Digitech processors just because it's something I could throw in my suitcase. And when you ask for certain amps or whatever, where you're going, it's just a wish list, and you may get whatever they happen to have. You know, if you're doing a clinic at a store, oh, we just sold that this morning. That happened to me. I used to go stereo, and yep, we got the stereo set up. Well, you got your speakers and everything. Well, we just sold it this morning. Sorry. So now I think every player, especially players that travel, want more and more control. So I have that, and all they have to provide me is a speaker, and sometimes that doesn't even work. I had like 3 times last year, I had solo gigs, and they go, "Oh, you need a speaker? We don't have one." So I don't know if I can get this in the camera without an explosion happening, but he also invented a thing called the Blue Box. No, that's not going to happen. It's about this big, and it's an IR speaker emulator, and you have a choice of 16 different speaker cabs to choose from. Plus, what's super cool is a virtual mic placement knob. Anybody that's tried to record guitar with speakers, I know you go in the next room and it sounds great, and then you come in the control room and it doesn't sound great. So you go back and forth 500 times just moving the mic a millimeter. Now I just put my mics away pretty much, and I'll just sit in the studio and record and just dial in whatever speaker cab I want for the sound I'm trying to go for, and move the mic placement virtually. It's awesome. And besides that, I've got 2 different systems I'm going between. I've been using the Digitech RP1000, which they don't even sell anymore. You can only find them on eBay. But I've been using that for years and years, and the problem is it's not MIDI. One other thing that the Blue Guitar Amp 1 has is MIDI capability. So one of my systems, I can just hit one button, it will change the amp channel and give me all the effects I want. That's coming from the Line 6 HX Stomp, which
Right.
it gives you a lot of great control. But there's certain sounds that I can only get from the Digitech, so I cannot commit just yet. Today I'm going through the Digitech with the 4-cable method, and the Digitech is only for sounds and expression pedal.
Very
Nice.
cool. So that's awesome. I think that's really good gear stuff. We have a lot of folks that are watching that are really into gear. You know how
Sure.
guitar players are, right?
Yes, I do.
We love our gear. So that's good stuff. Those are really helpful tips. So last chance for anybody to answer the trivia question. If you haven't, you got one more shot at it. We're about ready to wrap this up, but want to say once again, everybody that's watching, please stop by the tip jar. Drop Jennifer a tip, and for sure, there's a lot of folks watching right now, so go right under the video and hit that thumbs up button. We could use some more thumbs up, some likes. Appreciate everybody tuning in. And I think what we're going to do before we answer the trivia, let's play another song. You got another tune that you can do for us?
I do. This one is called the Swarm, and it got its name from something the bass player came up with. It sounds like a swarm of bees in the beginning. then it goes to another sound that's hard to get to. So we'll just cut that right out.
That's awesome.
Very, very
I love
cool.
it. That was amazing.
Man.
Thank you so
That
much.
was awesome. Very, very cool. Well, very good. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Let's do our trivia. Let's give away our trivia. Who's our trivia winner, guys? Do we have a trivia winner for this? Because we asked the question of Jennifer's played on 2 Jeff Beck records. So who is our lucky winner? Do we have one?
I think it's coming.
I feel it. I feel that trivia question coming.
See the claps. Dave Trucks.
Dave Trucks. Nice job.
Awesome.
The answer is you had it coming, by the way. We can give that answer now because Dave already knew that and nailed that. Good job, Dave. Awesome. So very cool. So Jennifer, thank you so much once again for spending some time this afternoon with us. You sounded awesome and great as always. We just hope to do more and wish you to stay safe during all this time. And hopefully we'll be able to see you back out there on the road and have you back down at the TrueFire Studios before we know it. So thank you so much for being here.
Sure, cheers. Thanks a lot for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, for everyone still watching, all of our TrueFire
Thanks,
folks, make sure you stop by Jennifer's tip jar there. Drop a tip in the jar as you're leaving. And get ready because coming up in just...
There he is.
The kids say these days, make sure you do that. Let us know you're digging it. And we appreciate everybody being here, spending the afternoon with us. We've got a lot of TrueFire Lives coming up. If you go to the TrueFire website, if you click on live, you will see that that is where you can find out our schedule coming up, what's happening. So I'm live and larger than life there for some reason.
Yeah, the great funny thing with Skype, man.
We've got coming up now. Let's just make this happen because our special guest coming in the studio, Josh Smith. We appreciate you being here, my man, and so excited to have you here to spend some time with us. So everybody is tuned in and excited. So say hello, Josh.
How you guys doing? Happy to be here and be able to get the marvels of technology to work in our favor for a minute.
Yeah, sometimes it works, man. It's like a miracle, but every once in a while it works, and everything sounds good and looks good. So good deal, man. How you been doing, Josh?
I've been good. I was really, really busy, and obviously that all came, to a screeching halt. But it's cool, It's nice to be home with the family for such an extended period of time, which is something I don't get to do quite as often. So that's great. I think they're already tired of me, though. And
that's awesome. Ready to send you back out on the road, right?
I think they're ready to be rid of me for a little bit. Yeah, I'm not normally home for a couple months at a time. So they've had their fill.
Well, we're glad you're here with us anyway. So we're happy that we're happy to take you off their hands for a little while this afternoon.
Right.
So, man, we're going to talk about some of your courses that you have at TrueFire. We're going to do lots of cool stuff. We start off with a trivia question. So we're going to ask everybody that's tuning in a trivia question. And look, if you're tuning in now, just tuning in, drop in the chat where you're tuning in from. Let us know where you're coming from, where you're watching this from. And if you have any questions for Josh, feel free to drop those in there. We'll get to some if we can. We'll keep Josh here as long as we can. But let's start with our trivia question. Trivia question, don't type it in the chat. Make sure you click on the link to go to the trivia to answer this. But our trivia question for Josh is, with which rock and roll legend did Josh perform at the 2011 Grammy Awards? So who was the rock and roll legend that Josh played with at the 2011 Grammy Awards? don't type that in the chat, but go ahead and click the link. And if you win, you will win $100 gift card from TrueFire. If you type it in the chat, you're automatically eliminated, disqualified, banned for life. So, so answer that and do that. Also, once again, Josh, we've got a tip jar for Josh there. If you dig what Josh is sharing with us today, show him that you appreciate him being here by going by the tip jar, dropping a tip. All of our TrueFire artists, as everyone knows, are sort of out of work. Tours canceled, gigs canceled. So this is doing what we can. Every dime that's in the tip jar goes right to the artist. So it goes directly to them. And we appreciate that. And so do they as well. So Josh, let's start out with some playing, man. Let's if you've got something to play, I love to listen to you play. So sure. Let's get into some playing.
Sounds good. Just gonna hit a little shuffle here.
Awesome.
All right.
Yeah. Oh man, that's beautiful, man.
Thank you.
That's
fellas.
awesome. Incredible, right? So, as I'm watching you play, I probably am just like everybody else watching you play. That there's a lot of things go through my mind, and I have a lot of questions. So I'm going to ask you a couple. All right. So, when you play, you're playing, a standard blues shuffle.
Yeah.
But you add a lot of things to it, right? You definitely have some lines that, certainly fall outside Pentatonicville, and so stuff that's a little jazzier. So when you first started playing the blues, did you kind of start from that approach, or did you start from more of a pentatonic approach like most people do and then kind of develop that? And if you did, how did you develop that, or when did that happen?
I certainly started, completely purely pentatonic. I was a blues fanatic as a young child. I still am a blues fanatic. It's what I love. And so Albert King and Otis Rush and B.B. King, these were my heroes, my initial heroes, and I wanted to do that. And as I got older and became, more adept, with my facility and with the knowledge that I was gaining, things started creeping their way in. I was always very inquisitive and, didn't like to be kind of held back. So if something caught my ear, I would work really hard to kind of figure that out. So it was all just very natural. And it just depended on what I was listening to. I was blessed to come up, in a household that liked a lot of good music. So I would hear jazz and blues and rock and roll and country and soul. And, this is what I was hearing from, the day I was born. So I just, one day would be listening to Monk, or we'd be listening to Miles Davis or Coltrane or Dizzy Gillespie or something like that. And then the next day I'd be listening to the Allman Brothers or the Stones or B.B. King or whatever. So it all just kind of always started creeping its way in there. It was just kind of a natural progression. My thing was always to try to keep the basis of my playing rooted in the blues, no matter how much new information I learned or how much more technical facility I got. I wanted to still sound like a blues musician, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, that's amazing. I think and you can hear that in your playing, right? That you're, it's rooted in the blues, man. It's blues, but it's just got that element that, is sounds a little more sophisticated occasionally, or a little just hipper kind of stuff that really makes it good. But, you do it so natural and it just flows. So, I think that's one of the things that, I know you've, really taught in your courses is some of those ways of thinking about it, different ways to look at playing something that you could certainly look at this as it's really straightforward and simple, but you have, some interesting ways to look at it. And I think that's what, certainly what we love about you. And I think that's what a lot of students really dig as well. So let's do, I think you got a few tunes that we can play, and I'd love to get as much playing in as possible, with you here. For sure, everybody shout out if you have any questions in the chat. But in the meantime, I would get into another tune and get another tune going, because I think, everybody loves to hear you play. So let's do another tune while we're at it.
All right, here comes a minor one in D, a kind of funky thing.
Yeah, nice. That's awesome, man. Very cool. So we got some questions. We got a lot of questions rolling in. So let's go with a couple of these questions. I keep asking my questions instead of anybody else's questions, but one of the questions I want to ask is, like in the middle there, you were doing some of those extra big bends, right? Some of those sort of Albert King vibey bends. So what tips do you got for students that are trying to get their bending down? You know, I hear a lot of folks that struggle with that, you know, bending to pitch and knowing how to bend. What tips would you give someone that were trying to get better at that kind of stuff?
Man, when I was first kind of getting into string bending, it was obviously Albert King and B.B. King were the guys, you know, and that's what I was listening to. And Albert had such a kind of drunk vibrato to his playing, but he was also really, really precise with his pitch on the bend itself, getting it up, you know, the full step. So I would work really hard at hearing the difference between sliding the note and bending the note, and I would used to just practice that constantly. I would go and until it was imperceptible, the pitch at least. I could just really nail it on call without thinking about it. You know, it was just muscle memory. And that helped. And then the extra long bends, the minor thirds and the two-step things, those came from, you know, a lot of practice and just kind of, that's a feel thing. Sometimes you don't even want to make it all the way to the desired pitch. You want to kind of create a little bit of that tension. And so that just comes from practice and using your ear. Another thing that may sound a little weird with the bending of strings that helps me, I use really heavy strings, but that actually helps me keep my pitch really, really stable when I'm bending, because I can't really go much over. It keeps me in check. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome stuff. So for everybody watching, if you're digging what Josh is doing, go to the tip jar. We've got it set up to where if you leave a tip in the tip jar, it will go directly to Josh. So appreciate all your support for all these artists. So Josh, Ryan Reeves is tuning in from Dallas. He says he's still amazed from your show there in November, but he wants to know, what's your daily practice routine like?
It depends on what my life schedule is at the time. If I'm on the road a lot, there is no daily practice routine, you know, because I'm gigging every night. When I'm home, I'm very, very driven by specific things. So if there's a new idea that I want to focus on, I may practice for hours for a few days in a row, every day, hours each day. And then I may have a couple days where I don't practice anything specific. I just kind of let that soak in and I just play. To me, that's the most important thing, is to play at some point every day. I found it interesting lately. I've been producing a lot of records for other guitar players, mostly guys who are younger than me. And I found they'll ask me a lot of times not about what I'm playing technically. They'll ask me sometimes questions about my stamina, which I thought, why? Where's this question even coming from? But we'll be sitting here playing for 10 hours, and I'll grab a guitar and show them, hey, this is what I want. And it's like, dude, you haven't touched a guitar in 6 hours. How can you just do that? And I'm like, well, it's because I play every day without fail. You know, it is a muscle that you cannot let relax, you know. And I think that's the most important thing. But as far as new skills and practice, it's very purpose driven for me. If there's something I want to work on, I'll dive headfirst into that and work very hard on it until I feel comfortable. But that's the way it works for me these days.
Awesome. Great answer. So I'm going to try this name, Julian Perchime, I believe. Do you have any tips for feeling the upbeat stronger and like placing accents more on the upbeat instead of just feeling that downbeat all the time?
Yeah. Practice your rhythm guitar. You know, the best thing you can do to really get your pocket together and start to feel those feels and things is to play with the rhythm guitar, right? Listen to R&B and listen to soul, listen to James Brown, listen to blues, listen to the way guys play on shuffles and they play. And start to get, you know, where you can feel so comfortable that you can fill in all these little holes. So I was mixing, going behind the beat, in front of the beat, straight on the beat, swinging things harder. That comes solely from rhythm guitar. Working so hard on rhythm guitar and kind of learning to be a part of the rhythm section helped my soloing and my time feel just dramatically. And I can't overstate that. Like that's really key.
That's awesome, man. Amazing and great advice there for sure. That's awesome. I mean, you know, I think your rhythm playing is one of the, you know, amazing things about the way you play is you approach that rhythm not just like, oh, I'm just chunking along on a rhythm and it doesn't matter. I mean, your rhythm really sounds like the tune in and of itself. You know, when you play rhythm, it's not like it's just there is something in the background. It's really part of what's happening. So I think that's what you just demonstrated there really shows that. So let's do
rhythm serious. You know, it's
yeah.
Think that when they're playing rhythm guitar, they're just filling the time until their next solo. You know?
Right.
You're a part of the band. You're a part of what's making happen on this stage feel good. You're a part of supporting whatever else is occurring. So maybe it's a singer, maybe it's another soloist. You're helping support what they do. You're building a foundation, and you're helping translate this music to the audience. And I mean, when it feels good, that's what the audience, especially the non-musicians, react to. So right. I mean, and especially if you want to be a working musician and get paid, 90% of the time you will be playing rhythm guitar and not just playing leads, you know, at least on the stuff that puts money in your pocket. So
yeah, absolutely. I always tell students, you know, look, would you rather play with somebody who is a good rhythm guitar player or a bad rhythm guitar player, you know? And that's the way everybody feels. So be a good rhythm guitar player and you're going to get to play with a lot of people, basically. So let's play another tune. Let's do it. You want to jam on another track? Let's do it.
Yeah, let's hit a slow blues.
Perfect.
Oh, my bad. E flat.
Yeah.
Very
Oh,
nice.
yeah, man. That's amazing. Great job. We've got folks tuning in from literally all over. We got people from North Carolina and Germany and Portugal and Austria and South Dakota and Denmark and Australia, Madrid, Chile, Spain, crazy people from all over. And they're all basically saying the same thing, which is, that's amazing, Josh.
Oh, guys, I really appreciate the kind words and the support. We all do this because we absolutely just have to. I do this because I love to play guitar. I love music, and it's my life. But, the fact that anybody has any interest in what I do or the music I make, still every day, that's, an amazing feeling to know, oh, somebody cares. Somebody actually enjoys this. I do it anyways. But, that's...
Well, it's awesome. We definitely enjoy it. And so you've done several things with TrueFire. Let's talk a little bit about your courses. So, you did Blue Highways, which is, amazing. And then the Blue Highways improv roadmaps that I'm going to talk about in a minute, or have you talk about.
Sure.
And then, of course, the In the Jam. So we've got several things going, with you and your courses. So if anybody's tuned in, if you have not checked out those courses, for sure, go check out Josh's courses. Amazing, because Josh is not only a phenomenal player, but he's a very approachable teacher. He has the ability to share that knowledge in a way that makes sense, because I think he's been through it. He's learned it. He's figured this stuff out, from trial and error and from spending countless hours on the instrument. And, he shares that really, really generously in his courses. And I think that's an amazing gift you have, Josh. Besides playing, you just have a great way of sharing it. And we're so happy to have you as part of the TrueFire family. The improv roadmaps, talk a little bit about that, and we've talked about this before, but how you think of that whole idea of a roadmap as you're playing,
Yeah, so improv roadmaps for me, it was definitely, to me, this is like a full course on my complete approach to building a solo. So it's not just building that solo, but all the tools you need to put that solo together and to be an effective improviser, at least in the blues world. So for me, there's a lot of tools involved. You've got to build up, number one, your technique. You got to build up your vocabulary. You got to build up, your tone. You got to build up your stamina. You got to build up, your ability to react and read the situation. So there's all these factors that go into becoming a solid improviser, because we're all trying to tell this story that we have kind of, we've got this thing going on in our head that instantly starts happening when you hear music. And then you've got this feeling in your heart that you want to, also apply to the music, and you want to get it out as directly and honestly as possible. And that's what this course, I think, I tried to design it around helping people do. Not necessarily learning only scales and concepts and ideas, but learning the reason behind the ideas. Why did my phrasing do this in this section? What led to me phrasing that way? Was it something the band did? Was it the attitude that I was in that day? Was I pissed off? Was it something in the audience? Was I trying to get a rise out of the audience? Or were they not feeling something I played, so I tried to adapt myself to them? And those are all things, like you said, that are from on-the-job training. You're talking about 30 years of gigging and playing, and figuring out a way to kind of find my vocabulary and distill everything down to the simplest, formula of how do I get a balance of what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling and put it out there and make it match up with what I can actually technically do on the guitar. So it's like it's melding all those things together.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's a great philosophy and a great way to look at it. And you do a good job in the course explaining exactly what you're talking about there. You know, it's not just about playing a scale. It's why did you do that scale? What was the thinking behind it, the feeling behind it, how that come about. So yeah, awesome job on that. So yeah, if for everybody checking it out, if you haven't, once again, if you don't have Josh's courses, be sure and check those out. Also, reminder, we're going to wrap up shortly here with with our trivia question, and we'll post the link there so you can go check out the trivia. And for sure, post the tip jar again. If you dig what Josh is doing, go by the tip jar. Once again, 100% of that goes directly to Josh, not to TrueFire. So we send all that money to him. So do that if you get a chance. This has been an amazing time, and one thing I want to cover before we sort of wrap things up is talk a little bit about gear. Obviously, seeing the shot of you there in your studio, Josh, is very cool. But tell us a little bit about the guitar you're playing, and just how you're getting your tone that you're dealing with right now today.
Okay, this guitar, my number one, is made by Bill Chapin. It's a Chapin T-Bird, he calls it. This has been my main guitar for going on 15 years. Wow. It's basically a 50s style Telecaster, so it's an ash body, one-piece maple neck. The pickups were special wound by Bill. It's a pretty straight-ahead guitar, but I just connected with it for some reason right away when I got it. And so it's been my main guitar for quite a while. I also play a lot of other guitars, but this has been the number one for a long time. I'm going through my little pedal board. I don't know if you can see it in the video shot. It is a wide shot. I'll get out of the way. But, it's the same stuff I've been using a long time. The main thing is the Love Pedal Shula and then a little slapback delay. That's all you've heard today. I used the Eventide H9 in the first song for a little Leslie effect. And I'm plugged into the Morgan JS12 to Josh Smith 12, which is a little Princeton Reverb style amp, which is my main tracking and session amp for the studio because it's a small amp and it's just a wonderful amp that I worked really hard on with Joe Morgan, and it also has the speaker that I helped design with Eminence, the JS12 speaker, 1250. And I'm miking it up with a vintage Shure Unidyne mic and a Mesanovich ribbon mic, and we're going into my console, my Trident Series 70. That's one everybody can't run out and go get at the store, unfortunately. And but yeah, I'm very fortunate to, over the last 5 years, have built this studio. It was a labor of love and a labor of a lot of hard work. But I've been producing a lot of records lately, and I still do a decent amount of just guitar sessions for people. So it was a dream to build this studio. You can't see it all in this shot, but there's a big live room over
that is
here.
A sweet shot, though.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, that window over there is the live room, which is bigger than this control room, so that's where the drums, that's where my amp is out there at the moment. So you're hearing me mic'd up through Pro Tools right now and all that.
Nice. That's awesome. That's a great rundown, man. Great rundown. So let's play another song. I know we're getting a few more questions in. We'll see if we got some time to answer a couple more questions, but love hearing you play, and so let's do another song while we're here.
All right, let's do a fast one.
Yeah.
Key E.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Nice.
Great job.
That's absolutely awesome, man. Very cool. I mean, I love that groove you had going on there. Very cool. So we got a couple more questions, then we're going to do our trivia answer. We just got a couple more questions. Someone's asking, how do you develop your lines over a slow blues, sort of the rhythmic aspect of that? It's maybe easier to just kind of get in a groove over a fast groove happening. But if you've got a slow blues, how do you develop those, rhythmically, how do you approach that to develop a solo over a slow blues?
Well, besides, all the great information and language that is available to you by just listening to the heroes, and kind of finding, what they did. For me, developing my timing in my phrasing, again, it really did relate to the way that I played rhythm guitar. I was always looking for, this is going to be a weird analogy, but it is the way that I see it. I was looking for like a hook, and I don't mean like a hook in a phrase. I mean like a coat hook. I see it as like a hanger that I can grab onto and kind of hang something off of. So when I hear a chord or somebody in the rhythm or the drums play, like let's say we're taking that slow blues and I hear somebody go, I hear an answer to that do da da bo da 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 da, so that it fits in the holes of the rhythm guitar. And that's kind of the way that I hear phrasing. It's a very conversational style. It's the same way on a groove like what we just played, a syncopated groove where the band's going bum 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 bum. I hear bo ba da ba da da ba da 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 ba da ba da ba da. It's like fitting in these holes of it is to me. I see like little like sections, like imagine a fence, and in between each post there's your hole, and that's the way that I kind of in my brain, I see it that way. Like I'm trying to just fill the holes, so it's very conversational. And another way that helped me was singing, taking a slow blues or a groove like that, and just like sitting here and go da ba da ba do da 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 ba da ba get it ba da da ba da ba 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 da da, and kind of finding new ways to go over bar lines, to slur phrases together, to double up and triple up, and then come back to a straight line. And I would find myself singing things that I never would think to play, and that helped me a lot. I would learn those things.
That's awesome. Oh, those are great tips for sure. I think on that note, being able to sing, and hear what you're doing and sort of get that across, also obviously gives it that vocal quality. It gives it that feel of it's melodic. It's got that going on. It's not just a guitar riff under your fingers. It's a phrase that, once again, one of the greats, you'd hear him sing it besides just playing it.
Well, answer yourself. Every line you play is informed by the line previous. So it's right. Like when I play a phrase that goes ba 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 da ba, I'm already hearing ba da da ba da 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 as an answer to that first lick. Nice. So listen, tune in to kind of what you're hearing and learn to kind of feel that those answers.
That's awesome stuff, man. Well, I know we're I know we're up against our time to where we're going to have to wrap this up, but let's do a couple things. Let's do a little more housekeeping here, and let's get a winner for our trivia. Nice. Let's wrap that up. So if my folks can get our trivia winner. And remember, everybody watching, if you haven't hit that thumbs up button, please do so before this wraps up. Hit our thumbs up. We're going to be doing a lot more of these TrueFire Lives, and we sure appreciate you being here. And if you have not went over to the tip jar, go to the tip jar, drop a tip in there for Josh. We sure appreciate it. The reason TrueFire is here on the planet at all is because of our artists and our students. So we love being the middleman to connect those two together. And this tip jar money will go directly from you students to the artists. So appreciate you guys doing that and being able to be a part of that. So let's see, our trivia winner is, give us our trivia. I feel like it's coming on. We should have a drum roll happening because I think the answer to the trivia question, that's good. Josh has got our drum. He plays drums too. He's got it all.
Right, here it comes.
It's coming.
Or maybe it's not. I'll just say
no. Suspense is killing me.
While we're waiting,
but we're gonna pull out. This is the what artist did Josh play with? What rock and roll legend did Josh play with at the 2011 Grammy Awards? And the winner is the winner is. Maybe nobody knows. Maybe nobody's guessed this. We might have to make something up in order to break
I've
that
seen
out.
a few correct answers come in improperly.
So they're coming in. So
in the chat. I would say, hey, we got a killer live video of Josh. Why don't we roll that while we're waiting, or roll that on the way out? What do you think? Do we have our answer yet?
Yeah, let's roll that. Let's roll that while we're waiting.
Let's check out a little bit.
We'll come back and say hey to Josh. So stick around, Josh.
Here we go.
Gary Novak on the drums. Yeah, all right. All right. We're going to do a tune from the Over Your Head record that I wrote definitely in the style of Albert King and thinking about Albert King. Travis is going to start it off with some fuzz bass. It's called When I Get Mine. You're sitting hanging around, baby. You're looking for what you got coming. And you, baby, I said you better get in line now. 'Cause darling, you ain't getting yours until I get mine. I said one hand, darling, one hand ain't gonna wash the other. And you, baby, I said you better get in line now. getting yours.
All right, I think we have a winner. Almost. We're still waiting for it. Okay. There it is, Jeff. It's George Ben, winner of a $100 gift card. Great job, guys. Winner, the answer was Mick Jagger. So, on that, I think we'll say goodbye to Josh. Killer.
All right. Awesome. Very cool. Very cool. And we do have a trivia winner. Looks like our trivia winner is George Ben. George Ben, congratulations. You just won a $100 gift card for TrueFire. So very cool. So, guys, we thank you so much for being here today. Josh, thanks so much, brother. We appreciate you being here. You sound great as ever. Stay safe there.
Absolutely.
And we will keep rolling with this thing. Everybody that's watching, stop by the tip jar. Drop a tip in there for Josh on your way out. For sure, go check out his TrueFire courses and everything else Josh does. He's everywhere. Go check the man out everywhere you can, because you can't learn too much of what he's got to share. I'm telling you, it's a ton of stuff. So thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thanks to Tommy back in the studio. Tommy, thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you, guys.
Charlie Apicella kicked things off. Appreciate all of our TrueFire artists. We love them all. We will see you guys on the next TrueFire Live. Go to the TrueFire page to check out when that will be, and tune in for more live goodness as we're all getting through this crazy time in the world together. So thanks, guys, for tuning in.
Thank you, Josh.
Peace out.
Thank you.